evening, good morning, good afternoon to each one of you who have joined us today. Uh, I think we have touched, came we have come live after a brief gap, and I'm excited to have this session today because today we are going to discuss something really important uh, that makes sense for all of us who are advancing in their careers, who are looking forward to achieve their goals, and one of the things that we all kind of ignore. It's all about asking questions. I know that at you know at some point of life we do feel like asking for help, and it can be difficult, because it can chip away at our pride, make us question our own abilities, sometimes create paralyzing anxiety, and yes, sometimes to some people it make us feel or appear weak. And this is natural. I think each one of us go through it. Each one of us experience these things, and this is exactly what we're going to address today. So let's wait for a couple of more people to join us for this live session, and then we will kickstart with Shelly. In the meantime, for all of you who are joining us today, uh, do make sure that you are dropping in your questions, your comments, or anything that you feel you want to get it answered during the course of our live session. Just feel free to pour in your questions. And of course, do mention your countries, your cities as well, so that we can give you a big hello. And for those of you who don't know me, let me give you a quick introduction. I'm Shraddha Verma, and I'm the co founder of Fusia. And we come every month and host this series of, the career series of live sessions with Shelly, to make sure that each one of you who are a part of our Fusia family get the right kind of advices, get the right kind of suggestions and tips, and get everything that's necessary for you to grow in your career. So this is one of our vision and mission, to make sure that our Fusia family is uh, totally well equipped with whatever they need in terms of progressing in their careers. So let's begin with, and I think we have a couple of people joined in. So let's kickstart. So, Shelly, just before we begin, I just wanted to give a quick introduction for all those of you, maybe people who have joined us for the first time, people who have joined us, regularly. So, just a quick recap of what Fusia is if you don't know what is Fusia. So, Fusia is a creative global community and a talent showcase platform driven by women to help all individuals explore, express, and nurture their talents. We aim to empower them to use their creative voices and amplify them globally. Our vision is to harness the power of social media in and drive the new age of empowerment, feminism, and gender equality. And this career series of live session and discussion is all about, you getting the right kind of expert advice and tips to progress in your career. So we just started a few years back, just as a writing club, and today we are home to 5 million people, 5 million people in our network. So thank you so much for your love and support. Do check out the website, that's www.fusia.com, and you can also download the Fusia app from the App Store and the iOS, from the Android App Store and the iOS App Store, so that you can have an on the go experience. And before we begin, let me introduce you to Shellye Archambeau, who is our guest and also the expert who's gonna guide you for all the kind of tips and tricks that you gonna need, uh, while advancing in your career. Shellye Archambeau has over 30 years of experience in technology leading organizations. She serves on the board of companies like Verizon and Nordstrom, and she's the author of the book Unapologetically Ambitious. Take risks, break barriers, and create success on your own terms. This book is available on Amazon, so make sure you grab a copy of it. Not just that, she's a contributor to the Forbes and has been featured in various publications, right from the Wall Street Journal to the New York Times and the Financial Times. Shellye, a warm welcome to you for this live session.
Well, thanks very much, Sharada. I always look forward to our sessions.
of course, I mean, this has been, this is something that I always look forward to, especially when it comes to discussions around, leadership and career. So we all are looking forward. And audience, our beautiful audience, our lovely audience, do drop in your questions so that we can take it up during the course of a discussion. All right. So, Shelly, as today's topic is all about the power of asking for help. So, one of the basic and the foremost thing that we come across is, uh, why do you think that it's important to ask for help? Especially, when it's like a simple phenomenon, because asking can be difficult, as I mentioned earlier. And we are often reluctant to ask for help because of uncertainty, risk of rejection, potential for diminished status, and so on and so forth. So why do you think that, despite having this mindset, still it's important to ask for help? Why do you think so?
Well, there's a bunch of reasons, Shraddha. One of the things that I like to say, just as a broad context, is no one accomplishes anything of significance all by themselves. No, nobody does. So there's no reason to think that you, therefore, will be the only person in the world who can do it. So it takes a village, it takes a team, it takes help and support. We are not born knowing everything, right? And that would never be expected of us. So why do it? Because the ability to ask for help actually opens up a whole new world of getting information and input, right? And support. So it's really important. A lot of us get stuck. It's like, okay, we know what we want to do, or we know what we need to do, but we're not exactly sure what's the best way to do it. What's the most effective way to do it, right? How to be productive. What's the first step, right? All those things, which is not surprising. I mean, whenever you are moving forward in your career, getting a new job or a new opportunity, a new project, it's new, 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 which means, of course, you're starting at the bottom of the learning ladder, right? The learning curve, you're just getting started on. So there's no way you expect that you know everything. So it's important that you ask for help so that you don't get stuck, that you can move forward, that you can actually demonstrate your capabilities, right? But in the right way. But it also gives you an opportunity to collaborate with others. When you ask for help or reach out for some support or some advice, etc., now you're having a conversation, a dialogue, right? So you're able to actually build relationships, which is really important in business. The other reason is asking for help goes back to the whole learning curve point. It gives you a learning opportunity. And trust me, the more you learn, the more skills you build, right, and create, the more valuable you will be to the boss, to the company, to your organization, right, to others around you. But the other thing it does is it helps you improve productivity. Because every time you get stuck and you're not quite sure what step to take, where to move, etc., it slows you down, right? Because you're just kind of spinning your wheels. Well, everyone wants you to be productive. Trust me, everybody wants you to be productive. So asking for help just unlocks that overall productivity.
Absolutely. All in all, I think the crux is it can help us create better results, like you said. So, how do we identify whom to approach for help, or is there something that we should keep in mind before asking for help?
Well, I think it's important actually, Shraddha, to talk about why it's so hard first. Because if you understand
Hmm.
why it's so hard to ask for help, and get underneath that, then it makes it easier on the who's and the how's and, everything else. So, you talked about some of the reasons why, right? You said, it's hard, you feel like you're not capable, you get nervous about it, right? All those things. Absolutely. But here's the big thing. I think one of the biggest reasons that people don't like to ask for help is because they're basically just afraid, right? They're just afraid. And you mentioned it. You're afraid of rejection. Yeah, what if I ask and they say no, right? Or appearing like needy, like you can't do things by yourself, or that somehow you're overstepping, right? Oh my goodness, they're at a higher level or they're more experienced, and who am I, right, to
Exactly.
ask for help? Or you're afraid that that whole, invisible boundary, sometime by crossing it, you're making a big faux pas, right, in business.
Yeah, and
Or
then there's a lot of anxiety. I mean,
yeah,
before asking, or even thinking that, oh, do I have to ask for help? That's the kind of anxiety that builds in.
yes, it's so true. And you're showing that you're like not perfect, right? I mean, it's like I ask for help. I'm showing that I don't actually know, right? Well, guess what? All those things we just talked about, nobody expects you to be perfect but you. Okay? Nobody does. And in terms of overstepping, I've found that if you are willing to offer help first, if you're just a helpful person, that it makes it easier to actually ask others for help. And this whole fear of being found out, that you don't actually know everything, the whole bit, it's internal. As I said, nobody expects you to know everything. And if you don't ask for help and you just spin your wheels, then companies feel like you don't know how to use your resources, right? They feel that you're actually not a very productive employee. So it's actually a negative not asking for help. One of the things that I often say, Shraddha, is ambition, the desire to achieve things, to aspire to new heights, to make an impact, etc. But having ambition, well, being vulnerable is the flip side of that coin. It's hard to be ambitious and go after your ambition and not be vulnerable, because it's okay to admit that you don't know everything. It's okay to show a lack of knowledge. All right. All those things are okay. And one of the things that I found that makes it a little bit easier to overcome that fear we just talked about is when fear is amorphous, when it's kind of like, I'm scared of all these different things and it's kind of a cloud around us and the whole bit, we get stuck. But if you literally get a piece of paper and start writing down, what am I actually afraid of? And write it down and then look at it, it's not that scary. It's just not that
True.
scary. So work to overcome the fear. Because, like I said, nobody accomplishes anything of significance by themselves. So, therefore, you want to move forward. You want to move forward, right? And once you realize this and get over the fear and work through it, then you can figure out, well, who do I actually ask, right? Who can help me?
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, Shraddha, by the breadth of people that can help you. Because here's the fun fact: 99% of the time, whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever job you hold, whatever project you're trying to embark on, the odds are somebody else has already done it. Somebody else
True.
has been there before you, right? Go find those people. Go find the folks that have done what you're trying to do, right? They're great people
Yeah.
to ask. And here's the other thing, and I know you know this too, Shraddha. People like to talk about themselves. So if you,
Absolutely.
right?
They just
Yeah,
look for an opportunity to talk about it.
exactly. So give them the opportunity. Ask them about their role. How did they get their job? What was something they faced? And then as they're talking, say, by the way, did you ever face blah, 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 blah? Right? Did you ever have a challenge doing da, 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 da? How did you overcome it? Right? What would you think? You just build it into the conversation. Asking for help is just a conversation. It's just where you're trying to steer that conversation. So ask people who've done the job before. If you're not sure people who have done the job before, right, then ask people around you. Do they know someone who's done this? You're trying to build a website, or you're trying to, whatever it is, you're trying to figure out how to do this project plan, or how to reach somebody in particular, whatever it is. Ask people if they've ever faced it before, right? So you haven't even asked for help yet. You've just
Yeah.
inquired. You've just asked kind of a question to start a dialogue. So there's
True.
ways to ease into this as you think about who to ask. But frankly, almost anybody around you can help you, because either they know or they might know somebody else that knows. So think about
Absolutely.
people at work, think about people in your community, right? Think about people that you went to school with, right? You actually have a much bigger network than you realize if you sit back and think about it.
So, is it important to have or be good at networking when it's about asking for help?
It is. To me, it's part and parcel. Almost asking for help
Then how
grows
about
into
dealing with
conversations.
then the other question that I'm sure that our introvert audience will have in mind is, how do they open up? Because a part of their nature is not opening up. So are there any suggestions or advice and tips that you would want to give?
Yeah, figure out the medium that works best for you, right? If you're not a person, if it's uncomfortable face to face, you know what I mean, or calling somebody up, then use email, but structure it, right, in a way that don't just write an email and say, will you help me do this project, right? But you write an email to say, I really admire, right, all that I've seen you accomplish around XYZ. I was wondering if you might have some tips for me as I embark, right, on doing blah, 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 blah. Okay, so use the medium that you are comfortable with, but make sure that whatever medium you choose, that you explain why you're asking, that you create that intimacy, right, and that need, and you show respect.
I think that's a great tip, and for those of you who are who are listening to us, I think this is a great tip here. Use the medium in which you are comfortable with, because this is gonna be the key for all your answers. Uh, right. I think, thank you, Shelly. This is really helpful. But Shelly, how about some advice on how to effectively ask questions in terms of how can you impose upon people without making them feel imposed upon you? So
Yeah.
is there anything that we should look
Yeah,
at that?
the key is be concise and specific. If you go to someone and say, I'm trying to manage a conference, will you help me? Oh my goodness, right? That sounds like you're asking me for this
That's also
huge,
true.
right, effort. Versus if you say, I am managing a conference and I am trying to determine how to find the best people for lighting, right? Now it's very specific. Can you
Right.
recommend somebody? So you want to be concise and you want to be specific. You don't want people to think, oh my goodness, right? What you're asking me is going to take me weeks and months of time, time, etc. So carve things out, make it specific, be clear, right? In what you're doing. Don't ask for general help because people know how to respond to general help. The other is, be confident. Don't apologize for asking for help, right? Be thankful, be grateful, be appreciative, but don't apologize because it's okay to ask for help. You deserve help, right? When asked in the right way. The other is, you want to make this personal, not transactional, right? So
Hmm.
this isn't, hey, will you help me do this and then I'll help you do something else? Kind of back and forth. That sounds like a transaction, tit for tat, right? You want to make it personal. Remember that whole relationship, the collaboration I talked about?
Yes.
Um, and then here's one of the most important things that you can do. And that is once you've asked for help and then you've taken it. So you're creating a conference, right? You've asked for help on lighting or speakers or whatever it is. Once the conference is over, get back to the people whom you've asked help from and thank them. Thank them and let them know how they actually help. So don't just say thank you for the help on the lighting. I mean, that's okay. But you can say, hey, thanks so much for the recommendation on the lighting person. It really made a difference to the overall impact of our event. Why do you do that? Because that makes them feel like their time was well spent. They
Exactly.
know that you were helpful. They know they made a difference. They know they made an impact. And that feels good right here. All right. So it's so important to make sure that you close that loop and let them know that their time wasn't wasted, right? Sharing advice or being helpful.
Absolutely, and I think these are some great examples, because often we don't realize what we are asking, because it's so much so that we end up asking open-ended questions which gets too much, and we just lose the focus. So I think these are some great examples, and I'm sure that our audience are also getting a lot of ideas of how to approach someone, and how to frame the questions which are more focused and precise while asking for help. I think this is really helpful, Shelly. Thank you so much. So before we conclude, I would want you to, let us know some quick recommendations, any videos, any books that you feel that can help us in the long
Yeah,
run.
my favorite. Yeah, so let me tell you my go-to resource on this. And it's a book by Wayne Baker. He's a professor. And he wrote a book that's called All You Have to Do Is Ask. All you have to do is ask. And in the book, he gives you different ways of asking, how to ask, how to overcome objections, how to build your confidence in asking. Honestly, it's a whole book on all you have to do is ask. So that's my number one resource.
By Wayne Baker, right?
By Wayne, Wayne, Baker, Baker.
Okay, so I'm putting this in the comments below so all our viewers can actually take a look at it. Uh, all right. Yeah, Shelly, you there?
Yes, I am. Something happened and we froze, but I'm
Yeah,
glad it was at the end. Technology is wonderful when it works.
I know. We just can't depend on technology anyhow. Right. All right. So this is so I have put that book in the comments. So all of you can just have a look at the comments, and that's majorly it. I think this was a wonderful discussion, Shelly. Thank you so much for your valuable time and guidance and your tips and advice on how to ask questions and why is it important to ask questions, because and for the audience who have been patient enough to listen to this entire conversation, so when you next find yourself in need of help, remember that people are willing to give it much more than not. Few will think less of you for needing assistance, and there is no better way to make someone feel good about himself, or herself, than to ask for it. It brings out the best and the best feelings in all of us. So ask questions, and be fearless. Don't think about any kind of anxiety or rejection, because this is only for your good. Thank you so much, Shelly, for your valuable time. I appreciate it. And next month, we catch up with all of you with another interesting topic in the Career Advancement series. Thank you so much for being a patient audience with us. And thank you so much, Shelly, for being a part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.